Greetings, all. Shardvixen. I'm a little cold today. It's a little cold out here today. Anyway, today is brain food. Brain food. Brain food. Make your brain grow. Maybe it'll make your brain grow. Anyway, I fixed the lights in the back. They're not shining directly into here. So, we're doing the 50 greatest mysteries, but I have to tell you, historical mysteries. They didn't say greatest. I don't know why this one's a mystery anymore. I mean, I don't know why it classifies as a mystery. It was solved, so technically it's no longer a mystery. I guess the question, the only mystery I can come up is why a mist. Anyway, this is the Lost Regiment. And you remember I said this kind of sounded familiar and I couldn't figure out why. I think it also is in the story The Water Diviner, or at least a suggestion of that, because it's very similar. Keep getting weird point things. Anyway, oops, I've got a camera going on. Yeah, I see something popping up on my pop-up. I can't get it off. Anyway, so here's the synopsis of this one, right? Before I start, rambly-bambly. So, on the 12th of August, 1915, during the World War I Gallipoli campaign, the 5th Battalion Norfolk Regiment was advancing against the Turkish lines when a strange fog allegedly came down over them. Lie. When it lifted, the men were nowhere to be seen. That's true, but since it didn't lift, that's not, whatever. The fate of the missing men remained a mystery for the rest of the war, with Turkey denying their capture. But in 1999, I can't see. Sorry. But in 1919, their remains were finally identified, scattered over an area about 1 square mile. Okay, so this is... I thought History magazine was a good magazine, but I'm kind of thinking it's kind of a bit of a tabloid. I mean, it probably has some good history stuff in it, but this is just tabloid. Red bunnies. I'm not saying don't read the magazine. I just don't. This particular one is just really what? So there was a gentleman. His name is Nigel McCreary. Wrote a book called The Vanquished Battalion. I can't say it. Battalion. Can't say the word. The regiment. In 1990 something, and then he rewrote it as it was republished as the All the King's Men, and they did a TV series, a BBC drama series of it. Also, there is another movie and book called All the King's Men, which has nothing to do with this one. So don't get confused. This is the one by McCreary, I guess. It's MC, capital CRERY. So if I misspelled that wrong, please tell me. Anyway, so what that book explains what actually happened, and it doesn't have a lot to do with a mystery mist. That came about because in 1919, no one could explain where the hell that they went. It just seemed like they disappeared. But it was a battle. And so what happened is they ended up something like, I don't know, they ended up quite a ways on the other side of the Turkish front line. And then they were captured and executed. And so there's no mystery there what happened to them. Now, there was a mystery in 1915, so for 4 years, no one knew what happened, and so the story just kind of grew out of this misty fog thing, swallowed them up, and they disappeared. It wasn't till one of the queens, Queen Alexandria, requested that somebody investigate it because she was quite fond of quite a few people that were in the battalion because they were people that worked for her family. So then when they found out what happened to him, a lot of people still kept it quiet because they didn't want to upset the queen, because it was kind of a sad story. I mean, it wasn't like they were going to, all of a sudden, you were going to find them and they were captured or they were prisoners of war. They weren't. So my question then becomes, is that, okay, so in 1919, they knew what had happened to them, but yet they allowed this story and mystery, no mystery, the story to keep going, going on. And then people like History Magazine still publishes it as in this was, a mystery. It was only a mystery for 4 years, and then everyone knew what happened. Granted, they didn't publish the findings and stuff for a while. In fact, the commander of the leader of the group, a Frank Beck, I think was his name. Not private. Might have been no, he wasn't private. He was. He is featured in the movie All the King's Men. It's on Prime, so I'm gonna watch it because I'm curious about the how it's depicted. Now, another movie called The Water Diviner. I don't know if you've seen it. It's with Russell Crowe, and it's about a farmer in Australia who, during the same period of time, goes off to find his 3 sons' remains because he was informed they all died. And it's kind of parts of it is very disconnected, but the storyline's good. But there's a period of time in which they talk about the same battle, and these Australian boys end up with the British boys, I think, from Norfolk, and it's got a very similar feel to it, though they never say that. I mean, they never talk about it, but they do talk about the mass graves afterwards. And they never did really identify Beck, the gentleman in it. They were unable to identify his remains. So there's a lot of speculation about him per se. Though there is a one survivor of the event who accounted for most of the information for both the book and the movie. I think it's probably spectacular to watch because maybe not for the acting part of it, and there's a lot of conjunction in it. But I think that's kind of would be interesting to watch somebody solve a mystery, from 1915. But then it just kind of proves that there's always an explanation about something. Just because sometimes the explanation seems odd or far-fetched doesn't mean that it's not a plausible. I'm not saying that these guys couldn't have disappeared into a fog. What I'm saying is that they proved they didn't disappear in a fog. I mean, a fog could have came down, they could have gotten disoriented, fought their way and kept fighting their way and pushing until they ended up on the other side of the front lines, far disconnected from the rest of, the English army, and then realized they were in a very bad place, or got killed before they realized they were in a very bad place. And then there's a mass grave and they throw all the bones in it. Which is the part in The Water Divider that you kind of get this gist of, because he goes, I think it's about 1919 or so, that he shows up there trying to find his children's bones. The Water Divider is a very interesting kind of story about grief, and sometimes about how one event can impact you so immensely and change your life in one way, and then propel you in a totally different way. And responsibility of parents, so he told he read to his boys all the time about great events and adventures and being heroes. So then when the war broke out, they wanted to leave home to go do that thing. And it was in an area that they had read about, with Arabian Nights and Turkish stuff. Not that I'm saying that the Arabian Nights has anything to do with Turkish stuff. Turkey. Just that, a lot of people that time period would have probably meshed the two together. So, brain food wise, this to me, I knew it was familiar to me, but to me, what's the mystery is why it's a mystery anymore. I mean, if you know the answer, it seems kind of, it's like it does take you on a little journey though, when you look it up. So if you go and put in the name here, what was it? My eyes don't get so well when I'm looking there into there. The 5th Battalion North Fork Regiment. If you type that in, the Lost Regiment, then you'll find out about all the Kingsmen, and you'll find out about the book, and then you'll find out about the fact that it was a myth. You know, everybody turned around, and all of a sudden they were all gone, and here was a foggy area, I'm thinking, and then I don't know where they went. They were there, and then they weren't there, and now, you know, hey, they got swallowed up by some crazy mist, and then they go back home and just keep telling people the same story. So I can see where that might be interesting to a point, but we got to the end. So it was a very short brain food, which is why I'm reading some of these, because some of the things are mysteries that are long-standing mysteries, and then some of them are not, but they make for good reading. I like history. I like history even though history changes. I mean, all my life history's changed. You go to school. When I went to school I'd have to say probably about 3rd grade or so, because 1st and 2nd grade you learn all the artsy cutesy stuff. About 3rd or 4th grade you start learning about U.S. history, and each year you learn a little bit more about the same stuff you already learned. And I was always curious. I asked one of my high school teachers in the 80s. I asked them why, and they said that, you know, there's things that children don't understand, so we have to tell them little bits and then bigger bits as they get older. And then you go to college, and you learn the same history stuff again. Same stuff, but then, because time is changing, as you know what. Okay, so Blue Boy wants to say hi. You right there, just say hi.
Hi.
Because you don't have a mask on, you can't be seen. Or the mask family are hard to be seen. Right now, I forgot what I was talking about. I gotta think about it. What was I talking about? I was talking about history. Yeah, my brain gets that way, and I got stuck there. Anyway, so you get into college, and then all of a sudden you're an adult, so you get to learn the real history. And then over a period of time, what I learned in the 70s to what I learned in the 90s was much different, and what you learned in the 90s and in 2000 teens is different.
I can't do what I wanted to eat because I need somebody to get it.
Go get a bagel for the baby. Okay. So it's weird about history that way. So like lots of people be talking about the Lost Regiment, right? But it's not like there's a conspiracy theory. There's nothing there. It just was that for the time era, it was a chaotic event, and you know, they don't write down things or acknowledge things or do things correctly sometimes in chaotic events. And then the aftermath, when somebody goes back and reinvestigates, they realize it was very mundane in the aspect of what versus the supernatural or extraordinary. It's sad that they died and people didn't know where they went for that period of time, especially for their families. I mean, it's the only reason anybody found out what happened to them was because a royal person was interested. I'm sure their families were very interested in that, but since their families were servants, you know, for the crown, they couldn't come up with the money to get investigators to go and find that. I'm glad somebody found out about them. There's a lot of mysteries out there where people never like. Just recently, we had a gentleman who is lost here in Oregon. Well, we have quite a few of them. But he left his campsite, and then nobody knows where he went. He just kind of disappeared. And they still haven't found him. But we have a lot of woodsy areas around us, so you could, you know, disappear, and that'd be the end of it. But it's kind of a mystery because was somebody after him? Was he doing drugs? Did he get stolen? You know, like, what causes a person to disappear? And then on that top of that, it's like a whole battalion of people disappear. Or when boats and planes disappear, or, you know, things like that. So, yeah, it's just weird. when you think about how people can still disappear. I mean, a lot of times, sadly, bad things have happened to them when they disappear. It's not like they disappear and come back. Though there was that lady in Utah that disappeared from California. She was out hiking and supposedly disappeared. But I saw that they were going to do some, there was criminal investigation going on because they're very confused as to how she could disappear and be gone for so many days and come back with very minor issues of dehydration and hunger. Like she was surviving out there someplace else is what they think. I think they think that they're thinking about. Which then makes you wonder, well, why lie about it? You know, maybe she was having sex on the side and didn't want her family to know or something. I don't know. It's always interesting the things that go on in people's minds. I always find that it's intriguing that people think they can get away with stuff. Like, I mean, some people do. They get away with it for a long period of time, but then other people don't. And yet they seem to act like that. Somehow they were going to be able to do that, and it was going to be... So, all right. Well, that one's a short one today in brain food. Next brain food, I think we're doing, which I'm thinking is going to be another short one. Maybe I could do two of them together. I didn't think about that. The ghost blimp. So we could do the ghost blimp and have a conversation. But really, it's more about what I think. You know, I'm more about me searching and researching it and telling you about it. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there about things. Just YouTube alone. I mean, there's a lot of blogs. There's a lot of historical stuff. There's a lot. I remember when I first went back to school in 2001, when I went to my graduate school. Well, graduate school. When I went to graduate school, because that's when you go for your bachelor's, I think, because you have your AA, which is your junior college, then your bachelor's is your 4-year college, and then your postgraduate is your master's degree. But when I went back to get my bachelor's degree, you weren't allowed to use Wikipedia. Like, that wasn't a source that you could use. Though I found that their sources were pretty good. I mean, you could backtrack the sources really well and use their sources. So I used their sources quite a bit. You just didn't tell in your writings, in your articles, you didn't say that's where you got the source. You went back to the original source and said this was the source. But Wikipedia was a good way to get the bits of information started. It's just a good place, a jumping start off for when you're writing papers. You're still going to have your instructors tell you that don't go with that, but any place that gathers information just gathers it and puts it in, and it's just written as informational gather is a good place to start. Another one I like that I don't think is around anymore, at least not in the way it was Ask Jeeves. So you could actually just ask the question and things pop up. You didn't have to put it into a search thing. But that one was one of my favorites. Of course, I've gone to Google since then, and Google's pretty good. I mean, sometimes Google will find other search engines for you, and then on that topic you go from there. But libraries are still a great place for information. So I'm thinking that we're going to do some of these, keep doing these till we do all 50 of them, which we do 4 a month, technically, right? So in 10 months, I'll be done, because I've already done 4. 1, 2, 3. No, I haven't done 4 yet. Next month, next one, which will be the Friday after Black Friday. It'll be Black Friday for us in the U.S. and other places if you do Black Friday. Just such an intriguing, because it means blackout prices. I get that, but it's intriguing how over a period of time, it's now kind of like a holiday. The spectacular time. I'm already getting Black Friday stuff. It's not even Black Friday, so I don't know. And here in Oregon, we're not going to be able to go to Black Friday because, there's massive amounts of people shoved into some place, and you're not going to be able to do that. So there won't really be no Black Fridays stuff for us, but I wouldn't go anyway. More and more people around me are getting tested positive, though I haven't actually interacted with those people. They're just people I know who are testing positive for COVID. So, which you're not supposed to say when you make a video, but I don't care. Also, I noticed really quick that YouTube has changed their policy, and you will start getting videos on content that people aren't monetized, which actually I'm amazed that they didn't do that in the past, because that's free money for YouTube. If they've got it on somebody's content that, you know, only 50 people are watching them, it's still 50 people that are watching them, you know. The world is changing, but that's what happens, you know. For me, it always feels like whenever I get in contact with it, the world changes more. Like, you know, everybody's like, oh, spectacular thing of streaming, and then I start streaming and things go all wonky. It's not true, but that's how it feels. That's that egocentricalness of thinking you're in the middle of the universe and everything revolves around you, or you affect everything. Some of us suffer from that sometimes. Anyway, this is it. The next one, of course, will be a Rambling 101, which sometimes some of these overlap into that. Like I said, that'll be Black Friday. And then we start our whole month back over. Can you believe it's almost December? I feel like I'm on this like runaway train. 1 minute it's October, the next minute now it's Thanksgiving, and it's going to be Yule time and Christmas and New Year's, and then we're in January, and it's going to be 2021. Won't that be intriguing to see how, if that year starts out any better or worse? Actually, I think it's going to be about the same. We're all going to be on lockdown again, because it's going to be the cold time. All right, I'm out of here. Peace. Have a great week. And remember, I stream on Sunday, so you can come by and see me. I do 2 streams in the afternoon, early evenings. I'll be doing Valhalla and Astroneer. And then Tuesdays is the other time you can catch me. All right. Talk to y'all later on the flip side.